I think the issue with the team is with this front office, and it's also with Tom Thibodeau. I ranted about how much I am so fed up with Tom Thibodeau last time I was on the show. I don't understand how you can be that bad as a head coach at placing your starting five. I don't get what combinations he thinks of at night where he's like, yes, I'm going to play these 5 players together. And they do absolutely nothing. Nothing. I don't understand it. You know, Walker's on the expiring contract. He's probably going to be gone this summer. Like, they're going to get something out of him. I think Alex Burks is taking the point guard position right now, like, which is such a. I know, Eli, you're shaking your head at that because it's just so sad to watch now. RJ Barrett is holding this team together with scraps. He records 46 career high points in that game, and they can't win. What more can you do?
He was also bad from the free throw line, though, and most of those points came in the first half.
Yeah, but it was 30 points in the first half, I think. But even then, 46 points. You're carrying your team, and carrying the New York Knicks is like a monumental effort. Yeah.
The funny thing to me is he's getting like 30 in the first half, and they're still down 10, and the Knicks fans are chanting RJ. It's like, look, I get it. Knicks fans are
That's all we have left.
They're desperate for something to cheer about. Like, they want to be happy, but like your team is. I get the Heat are the best team in the East, but in terms of the standings, but. I don't know. Come on, Knicks fans. You're better than that. Shut Bing Bong again or something.
No,
I don't know.
Can we bring Bing Bong back?
No,
Bing maybe that'll bring it.
I think Bing Bong is what killed the Knicks. I mean, like, you look at Bing Bong. It started. It got that big win over the Celtics. Okay, what did they start off? Like 4-1. It's like, hey, we're 2 years in a row now. We're good, whatever. And then as soon as the Bing Bong merch started popping up, Bing Bong sweatshirts, they're playing Bing Bong at the Garden. Mike Breen is saying Bing Bong instead of Bang. Like, as soon as that started, the Knicks fell off a cliff. So I think Bing Bong killed the Knicks.
Yeah, well. Anyway, other issues in the front office is Leon Rose. To many people who would go, who is Leon Rose? That's a great question because I would like to know as well because I never see that man do anything for the Knicks. He was gone at the trade deadline like we talked about earlier. I have no recollection of that man. He's making front office decisions that somehow are happening. When they talked about the Walker decision, they said that it was Kemba's decision to sit out for the rest of the season. That was interesting to me to hear. The way they worded that, because I feel like it would have been a partnership decision. I don't think Walker would have been like, yeah, I need to sit down. I feel like he would have had at least a little bit of fight left in him. And the major issue for me, too, there must be no communication between Rose and Tibbs. No. I don't understand how, when you see the Cam Reddish deal, like we talked about, Cam Reddish comes in to do stuff for the Knicks. He's going to play with RJ. That has a good, dynamic for them. And then Tibbs doesn't want to play him. So it's like, either one of two scenarios happened. Rose knew Tibbs didn't want him, so why did he get him? Or vice versa, Tibbs said nothing to Rose, and why is this such a big issue for them? They can't work it out. There is too much infighting with the Knicks that they can't even focus on their next player or their next game that they're going to play on because they are just so preoccupied with, oh, he doesn't want to play, or I can't play him, or the young players can't play. Like, oh my gosh, the Knicks just need to get it together because I am done watching them for the rest of the season. That is on record. I have turned the Knicks off after last night's game. That is it. No more Knicks for me. I rest my case.
Yeah, so when I think about RJ Barrett and the Knicks, I think of that meme from that Avengers movie where Spider-Man's holding the fairy together and it's just not quite happening. And then Iron Man comes in, saves him, puts the shit back together. We need to ship Julius Randle, bring back a veteran point guard with patience to be RJ Barrett's Iron Man. And I give the front office a little bit of credit because you bring in Kemba and he's washed, respectfully. But I thought it was a good idea. You bring in a veteran point guard to calm Julius Randle down, to calm RJ Barrett down, bring some patience, some structure to the offense, except that he did not do that at all. He completely failed his job, Kemba Walker did, and that's partially Tibbs' fault as well. But I'm glad to see Kemba sitting out for the rest of the season. I think that's good for Kemba. I think that's good for the Knicks. I think it gets the young guys in the rotation. But I think we should have shipped Julius Randle at the deadline for someone like, I'm intrigued by De'Aaron Fox. I was intrigued by Ben Simmons, partially. Fred VanVleet is another guy who I like. I was calling for Julius Randle's trade before he popped off last year, and then he popped off, and everybody was telling me, oh, look at you, you're wrong, what were you thinking? And now I'm right again. Just get him out of here, please. Julius Randle, He's very good. He very much lacks patience. He tries to run point guard sometimes, which I think is ridiculous because I don't know if anybody's told him, but he's not the point guard. And with 23 seconds on the shot clock, he'll drive into a double team and lose the ball. He does that probably 3 or 4 times a game, and it's so unbelievably frustrating. So yeah, basically get him out of here. I need a point guard.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could say you want Julius out of here. I think every Knicks fan wants it. I've never seen in my life, which in fairness is only 22 years, but I have never seen an athlete in this town go from being so lauded, so praised, being the guy that everyone loves, to suddenly just being the number one most despised player in New York. I mean, it wasn't even a full year. Literally, everyone loved him. The Atlanta series happens. Everyone's like, oh, what's going on? Boom, he comes back this year. Everyone hates him. Like, it just, and I get it took a little bit he had to play poorly to get the hate. But I mean, look, between the thumbs down, the media boycott, he's getting into it with coaches. They're trying to show him a tablet. He's like, get out of here. Not participating in team huddles. Like, everyone's around Tibbs, and he's like all the way out by the celebrity row section. To me, I don't know what's going on with this guy. In addition to Knicks fans not wanting him, I don't think he wants to be in New York. And we can say Eli, you could say that you want to trade him for a point guard and all that stuff. I just don't know what you can get from him at this point. I mean, look, the guy signed a 4-year, $117 million extension this past offseason. Now, at the top of my head, I don't really know where the outs are in that contract, when a team can get out of that. Look, NBA, more so than any other sport, the money means nothing in this league. Like, teams throw around money and get rid of guys and release guys and do sign-in trades and all this other cap release. They do all this crazy stuff. So maybe it's not a poison pill contract, but I don't know. To me, Julius, I was kind of surprised he wasn't traded at the deadline. I was surprised really that no one was traded at the deadline. Fournier was still here. Burks is still here. I don't know. To me, what this all comes back to is something Maddie mentioned, and that's Leon Rose. Kemba and Fournier, those signings were his ideas. I don't think Tibbs wanted those guys. He definitely wanted Reggie Bullock back. Leon Rose did not bring him back. Makes the trade for Cam Reddish, who Tibbs didn't want. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, players play and coaches coach, and I get that these players aren't playing up to the standards, but I'm sorry. You look at this roster. Who on this roster are you looking at saying, oh, wow, he's a really talented player who should be playing better? I don't really think there's anyone on this roster that I think is underperforming per se. Like, I get Julius Randle was really good last year, but look at the rest of his career. Are you also going to sit here and tell me that you expect Alec Burks to be like a top guard in this league? No. I mean, Evan Fournier, like, there's a reason why he got traded to Orlando and then didn't come back to the Celtics. Like, again, we all knew Kemba was washed too. I think Leon Rose, I'm starting to question the future of this franchise and what needs to happen and where. And to me, it's a continued incompetence for the last 2 decades for the Knicks. So, Maddie, I mean, as we sit here, what do the Knicks have to do going forward? I mean, you say you're done with Tibbs. You're not going to watch anymore. Is the answer fire Rose, fire Tibbs? Is it keep Rose, hire Kenny Atkinson to be the head coach? I mean, what is the move here?
It's really difficult to say with like what you got to do about Tibbs, because Tibbs was coach of the year very recently. And so, he has some credibility. Leon Rose, I don't know what he does anymore. I'm sure you could give a 5-year-old his job and he'd probably do a better job at this point. So I think Leon Rose has to go. I would be very happy to see him gone. Obviously, there's no communication. Somebody has to work with Tibbs. Tibbs is not working well with Rose. That's pretty evident. You need that switch up in the front office before anything is going to happen on that court. The players, yes, I really don't think they were going to be these star... They were not going to be the Suns. Let's say that. They were not going to be the Suns by any means. But I expect them to put a little bit more fight up in the division when they are barely performing at all. It is like so mediocre. It's like watching like high school basketball when you watch the Knicks now. And so, there's got to be a front office shakeup. I think Leon Rose has got to go. I don't know who's going to replace him. But obviously, these experiments, as I've been seeing them called, that Leon Rose is doing with the teams, haven't been working. And the fact that you're constantly trying and they're not working out, obviously something you are not getting with the Knicks. You don't understand the way the chemistry is working. You don't understand the team. You got to go. You got to get somebody in that does know it.
Yeah, and I think, his experiment was kind of like, okay, Tom Thibodeau's a defensive coach. Let me get rid of my best defensive players and replace them with offensive players who don't shoot well. That doesn't really make sense to me. Alfred Payton, not a good point guard. Played pretty good defense for how he was. Reggie Bullock, incredible perimeter, well, not incredible, pretty good perimeter defender. You place him with Fournier, who can shoot inefficiently, not as efficiently with Reggie Bullock, but he does score more points. But he also does not play nearly as good defense. So I agree with them. There's a miscommunication. Fournier, I like Fournier. I think you need to go back to the scrappy, defensive-minded team that Thibodeau wants this team to be, and not the just pull up from three all the time, it's just not efficient. It doesn't win games. So you need to think about building your roster around how your head coach wants to play the game, which doesn't seem like they're doing. But I still kind of trust Leon Rose. I don't think it's. I mean, we'll see what happens this offseason if he can really make something happen, get rid of Randle, bring in some. I don't know. I need him to impress the Knicks fans. Show me something that says I want to keep Leon Rose.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and it just all comes back to this. You say you want to keep Leon Rose. I will say this: you got to give him some credit for last year, at least. Same with Tibbs, Coach of the Year and all that. To me, last year was kind of a surprise season. I don't think anyone really expected that to happen. I mean, we thought, hey, we're bringing in Tibbs. It's going to be a slow rebuild. Okay, whatever. Season happens. Now we have these sky-high expectations come crashing back down to earth this year. And now, to me, I'm more confused than ever. What is the future of this team? Is this the right plan? Is this going to work? And frankly, I don't really know if it is, and I really don't have any confidence in anyone. And to me, the same old Knicks. You want to say the same old Jets as old-fashioned saying? Well, the same old Knicks. This is a team that has no idea what they're doing, and they haven't had an idea since 2000.